When I think of your goodness, I just want to praise you more. For your mercy, your kindness, and all of your ways, oh Lord. You are so glorious, you are so awesome. You're great and mighty, you're so amazing. You are so glorious, you are so awesome. You're great and mighty, you're so amazing, amazing, Lord. You're so amazing, you're so amazing. It's my Lord and my...
Good morning, and welcome to Limitless, the show that gives you love and inspiration on a Saturday morning. And this morning, we certainly have a woman that will inspire you. She has a story that's worth listening to. Her name is Gladness Katego, and she is a business leader, a motivator, a personal coach, an entrepreneur, and an author. So let us, without further ado, welcome Gladness, Gladness Katego, the author of Queen Unleashed. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Maria.
Good morning, Gladness. It's really good to have you on the show. Now,
so
I have spent a good amount of time reading this book of yours, and I can't put it down. I know it's your second book. Now, you wrote the first book, which was on business, and now this is a completely different book. Tell me, why have you moved from business to this, or is it all interlinked?
Well, it is interlinked. The reason I kind of shifted is after 10 years of business and business planning and consulting, I realized there was a gap, and most of my female clients were struggling in the elements of discovering themselves, knowing themselves. And God just really spoke to me. And from my own personal story, I realized that there's something to give. And I decided to then focus on empowering women. I still do the business coaching and business consulting, but I then shifted my attention to the women because I realized that I could support them a lot more because of my experiences, because what I managed to overcome. And that's why my next book was more on the women empowerment side.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know what I really loved about it was, you talk about your life, and there is something to remember, that we're all made in the image of God. We're all made the same as such, if you know what I mean. We have the same substance at the end of the day. And so sometimes the life that one woman lives, or the life that one person, individual lives, another can hook their own experiences and their own sort of what they're going through, and find nuggets of wealthy nuggets of inspiration and direction through that as well. So I was so intrigued. I like the way you've used your life. Now, one of the things, because I met you 4 years ago or so, wasn't it?
4 years ago. Yeah.
Authorpreneur boot camp, where we were learning how to write.
What an experience.
What an experience. And look at us now, got a book, you've got 2 books, and we're just doing things, so I thank God for Pastor Tunji. But I didn't know that you were a beauty queen. I was reading, I said, really? She was a beauty. I didn't know that you were. Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, so I'm actually the very first ever Miss Tanzania UK. Yeah. And this was 2007. And again, and this is why I thought to myself, sometimes you go through all these experiences and they serve a purpose, but you don't realize until you look back and acknowledge, that, okay, there's a purpose for that. And what is that purpose? And for me, as I explained in that book, when I went through my trauma and, having left my toxic, abusive husband, I had to remind myself of who I was. And as you said a very great thing, that we are human beings going through experiences. And I explained this in the book. I say we need to stop taking life experiences as if they are what defines us. Life experiences, again, I don't remember which page, but life experiences God uses to refine us. It doesn't define us, but it refines us. So when I look back and I was like, I am a beauty queen. I'm the first ever Miss Tanzania UK. God gave me that. And that is something. I'm not interested in beauty pageants. I'm not into modeling and all of that, but why did that happen? You know, it was just something that I just happened to join because they needed an extra girl. So I look back and said, well, if I could achieve that, you know, if God can give me that. And back then it gave me confidence. Being a beauty queen, I got to travel. You know, I went to Tanzania, I got publicity, I did so much. So I had to look back and say, what happened to that girl?
Yeah.
So sometimes when we go through bad experiences in life, we have to remember it doesn't define us. Okay, and it happens so that we can be strong and something good can come out of that. But if we don't acknowledge our experiences as just experiences, and which a lot of women do, they take it as if, yes, you know, it's that victim thing. Yes, I'm abused, and you take everything that people tell you that is negative, and you start dwelling on that, when actually whatever people say about you does not define you. As you said, we are created in the image of God. When we talk about women, Maria, he defines it somewhere. We're like precious gems, jewel. We are like rubies. How much are rubies worth? You know, when I looked at that, I was like, this is the definition I want to focus on.
And you know, as you just mentioned, as you just mentioned, you know, we're made in the image of God. You know, that what's coming back to me over and over again is the fact that, you know, sometimes people go through stuff, messy stuff, you know, things that break you sometimes to the point where you think, I can't come up from this. But let's think about the way in which we're made. We're made in the image of a creative God. But that creative God is not just creative, but he's the ability to take darkness, an earth that was none and void, turn it into a beautiful beauty. So I think sometimes when we look at it based on what you've just said, sometimes your messy situation or the situation that appears to be hopeless, from there we can create. And sometimes that story is much more powerful and a lot more to testify about, because it's a nothing situation. It's you know, and then you say, let there be. We speak the words and we do the, you know, we create just like our Father does. So that's profound. I love it.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you, Maria. And, you know, again, it's remembering, because we are created in his likeness, therefore we have the capacity to achieve so much, you know, because he has put that capacity within us. So sometimes it's things like that, which again is another chapter that I say, doing the identity work, it's so critical, Maria. It's so crucial. Having these understandings of who you are and you know what God created you for are some of the things that will help you actually take that mess and turn it into a message, kind of like what I'm doing now. And you know, and that's my goal, that's my purpose. That is my purpose.
And I write a lot about that purpose. Now, I was looking at your book. There's a quote that there's something you wrote there, which was, the most important thing in life after your relationship with God is knowing your identity in God. And I was sitting there thinking, it's true, you know, but you see, a lot of young people, or there's this dream, especially when we're going to talk about marriage and all of that in a minute. But young people, they think about the white wedding, those young girls. And you think about all the beautiful things and the dressing on top, the icing on the cake, but not really the tangible reality of the kind of things that should be thought about before you say I do, you know. And one of the most critical things that, you know, I was thinking was, actually, let's bring it down to the nitty-gritty. You don't really have your purpose until you know yourself through Christ. Through Christ.
You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, because obviously we know you're a queen and you're now unleashed.
Yes.
So tell us about the times when you didn't know this, and the time of not having that sense of
Maria, how long do you have?
Well, we've got 1 hour.
Honestly, it is crucial, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I made as well, is not knowing who I was and then joining hands with somebody else who unfortunately also didn't have their self-identity on check. Why it's important? Because, as you say, if you don't know your purpose and you haven't discovered who you are, you actually are even joining hands with somebody that you don't want. Knowing who you are as an identity is about knowing your wants, your desires, your core beliefs, because these things need to match the person that you're trying to join hands with. I'll give you a simple example that my clients that we deal with, situations such as a client says, well, I'm with this person, but you know, they like traveling a lot and I didn't realize this. Now they're never at home. They're always up and about and I don't like traveling. So I said, that is a prime example of why you needed to know yourself first. Understand what are your values, beliefs, what do you enjoy, so that when you are scouting for a spouse and you are trying to join hands, when you are getting to know, one of my spiritual fathers says, dating is for data. Get data, get information, understand what that person is all about. You know, you wouldn't start a degree course without understanding all the courses and modules and what you're going to gain from that. It's the same with relationships. Understand, okay, so what is it that I enjoy? What is it that I love? You know, making sure that your values are the same. Example I use again in my personal story is I really value family time. And I didn't realize this. My core value is family time. I would rather just spend every Friday night with my kids indoors and, you know, just have movie nights. But unfortunately, my ex-partner, that was not what he was about. He was more about just going out and just, family was not his core value. So had I understood this from the beginning and had asked the right questions, I would have realized that, okay, this person is not for me. Values of how to bring up a family, they differ. What do you believe is the right way? You cannot join hands with somebody that has a different opinion about how to bring up family. You know, simple things such as whether they actually prefer, you know, what should we use for an example? Even just living. This is another thing people face. Some people say my long-term goal is to go back to Africa, for example, go back to where I come from. You're joining hands with somebody who has no plans to live UK. So you're okay at the beginning, but then 10 years down the line, you've got this big crisis. You know, it's not always about toxic things. It's not always about abuse. Sometimes relationships can be broken by the littlest things. But your values and what you want, your desires are so different. You haven't known who you are as an individual. Therefore, you end up attracting somebody that is not for you. So when people, you know, the popular quote of, you know, what God has joined together, let no man put depart. But actually, sometimes God didn't even bring you to that person. You took yourself without consulting God. Because if you did, God would have made it clear that this is not the person for you.
Oh my goodness, I like that. Let no one put asunder, but actually,
God didn't bring you together. You didn't consult God. I never consulted God, you know, and for 9 years, God was telling me I was in this narcissistic relationship for 9 years, and God was giving me all the signs. I would even have dreams. But then because being a Christian, and sometimes, you know, we think, okay, I will pray out of this and the person will change. Nobody changes for anybody unless they desire to. But if somebody is already so conformed in who they are, and you are trying to create them to be something else, to mold them into what you desire them to be, then, you know, it just doesn't work, Maria. It just doesn't work.
This is where we come back to purpose again. This is where we come back to purpose, because everybody has a purpose and their purpose will align with who they are. So to try and change somebody can actually be going against God's plan.
Exactly. And this is how some people miss their destiny, miss their purpose.
Because praying, God changed them, but actually they are exactly the way God wanted them to be for what they need to do, which means they're meant to be with somebody else who can actually embrace that. And God can work with those two people as a union. I get you. But you see, that brings us again back to masks. Masks. People that a lot of us know about putting on a mask. And the problem can be when we believe our own mask, and then other people believe it too, and then you join union. Everybody confused. We're wearing masks.
Oh my God, I know all about that. I know all about that. Pretending to be what you're not. You know, pretending like everything is okay. Living life on the balance. And I don't even like this whole balance thing, because I believe life should be harmonized. All the different areas of your life needs to be in harmony. They go together. You flow. Life should be enjoyed and not endured. And most of the time, you know, I don't know what's happening in our society. we breed this notion of just balancing life, where your family life is separate, your business life is separate. You know, your husband doesn't know anything about your business life, and then your children don't know anything about what you do with work. And, you know, you're keeping all these, and that's what I call masking, because that's not really, you're not living an authentic life.
Yeah.
You're not, you know, life should be in alignment, everything. And if you're joined to the right person, your visions are aligned, and therefore your children's vision are aligned. And, you know, you're able to really live a happy and fulfilled life, a purposeful life.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people go around in circles trying to find this very nugget of wealth here. It's the difference between the slogan that we hear in this new age of be who you want to be, as opposed to be who you are.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's powerful. That is
Recreate
powerful.
your life, reshape your life, make yourself something. Make ourselves, or we just be. He said, I am that I am.
Yes.
We made in an image of the one that says, I am that I am. What is wrong with just relaxing in who we are?
And being ourselves. Yes. Oh, that's powerful, Maria. I totally agree.
Let's go through some quotes, because I tell you, you've inspired me this today. Oh my goodness, with this book. Let me just start off with it. It says, this book, Queen Unleashed, is designed to release your inner queen that lives inside of you, that may be hidden away from limitation, negative experience, and life challenges and trauma, such as domestic abuse. The book is created to help women discover their full potential and worth as God's precious creation, breaking away from common society misconceptions of the identity of women. Now, let's talk about the identity of women, because I find that the world puts an identity. The minute you're born, we've got, you know, we know the different organizations that run certain global media houses that tell young girls how they should be, the ones that manufacture the princess idealism. You know what I'm saying? Let's not mention names. Starts with D. That princess idea that you need to look this way and be that way and act that way, you know? And I know that I look a certain way because and the way I look attracts certain people to me. So they come to me with an assumption of who I am. And then I show them me, and which is good. I like it that way. Well, let's talk about this identity, the identity that that's put upon us from when we're young.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I mean, society does tend to put women in a box, right? You have this, you know, you grow up, and again, this was me having this image that, okay, I'm a woman. When I finish, I must go to school, finish uni, go to college, get a job, get married, and have kids. And that kind of becomes my, you know, what society will call your core, the core being of a woman. Yeah. And you're putting that woman in a box as if they were created just to accomplish that. Well, I say a woman was not created just to be that. A woman is able to accomplish so much more. In fact, I spoke to a psychologist who said, and I quote, that the woman brain is actually larger and has more capacity than the man brain. Right? This is why even God says that the woman is like the neck. The man is the head, but the woman is the neck that has the capacity to do so much. And where the woman turns, the man is following. And we then grow up thinking that all we have to do is just, you know, look after the home and just, yes, we can even have work, but then we have nothing else to accomplish for ourselves, when actually God has put a purpose in every single one of us. And because there's so much capacity within us, we are able to fulfill purpose. We are still able to look after the home. We are still able to go after the career and achieve whatever it is that we desire, because God has given us that capacity. We have power, we have strength. But a lot of women do not even tap into that power because they're already limited by what society has said. They don't even try to tap into that due to the limitations of abuse. Sometimes it's just childhood trauma. You know, you grow up even just being told as a girl, you know, you just have to find a good husband. You know, there's people culturally, especially in Africa, that believe as they're even growing, this young girl is already being scouted for. And definitely the woman's mind inside that little girl believes that that's all they were created to do. How about training our children from a young age to be entrepreneurial?
Yeah.
So that they grow up knowing that, okay, yes, there are these things such as being married and so on and so forth, but actually I can do so much more. Yes, we are supposed to be supportive to our husbands. And actually, when we are fulfilling our own destiny, and this is a fact, we are able to even be better wives. And men don't even realize this. Limiting the woman not to fulfill their purpose only hinders her from being the best queen that she can be and the best wife for you.
The
moment you release the woman, because she has got the capacity, you know, we can multitask better than men. We can do so much more. So instead of being limited and thinking, oh, you know, she takes on and then I'm going to lose her. No, actually, that is where you get the best of her. Because we do have that capacity. Just look at the being able to run a home in itself is entrepreneurial, because you're able to multitask. You know, you would see a woman feeding a child whilst reading a book, whilst watching the 4-year-old do their homework, whilst running all these errands. Our brain capacity, Maria, is huge.
Limitless.
You cannot catch a man doing all of that at the same time.
It's true. It's true.
Finding your inner capacity, once you discover that actually, and you learn about these things about yourself, read up about the capacity. You know, sometimes you think psychologists, yes, I had to read up on that, because I had to delete all those negative things that my narcissistic husband was telling me. Imagine somebody telling you, oh, you don't know how to wash clothes. And it's kind of like, that is the simplest thing to do. A narcissist would have you believing that. You know, listening to somebody, even as a child, how you speak to your child, telling them, oh, you are just useless, you can't do anything. Those things dwell on that child's brain, right? So they grow up starting to think they can't do those things. A lot of the things that I thought I couldn't do, when I discovered who I was and tapped into my power, I was able to do far and beyond. You then become more creative. Why? Because God has given the woman that capacity.
That's it. It's so true. Sometimes the devil will take one soul, mess up that soul so much, and then that soul is just going from one person to another, telling them they're useless. Everybody's a victim, really. You know, the woman is a victim, the man has been is a victim. The whole thing is being perpetuated generation to generation to generation. And this is one of the things that needs to stop, where we need to have value in ourselves as in who we are, so that we can project that to other people as well. You know, there was one thing that you said here. You said you began dating just to fill a void of an absent father. And that's another problem again, because a lot of people think, oh, you know, the boys need I will put my hand up to this. I also used to think this. Oh, the boys need their fathers. Oh, in the home, if you have boys, father's got to be there. And you find that, you know, girls need their fathers as well.
They do a lot more. You know, childhood trauma, you know, you hear it, daddy issues, that's what they are. It's dating or looking for something. And again, this is where a lot of brokenness comes from. A lot of brokenness comes from something you experienced as a child. For me, that was not having a father in my life. You know, yes, I was raised by a single mother, but being a single mother doesn't mean that you don't have a relationship with your father. And for some, you may have the relationship with your father, but you're not getting the emotional nourishment that a girl child needs. A girl child needs affection, needs that love from a father figure, if not even a father figure. When you don't have that.
That father figure love is the agape. It's the pure love. If not, the only love that you see then is what you see on television.
Exactly.
And so you misconstrue love and sex.
Exactly. Therefore, you grow up.
And that's where the abuse comes in.
Exactly. Anybody that tells you I love you, they don't even mean it, because you've never experienced that agape love, the pure love. You don't know what real love is. You end up just going for any person that says I love you, and finding out down the line that actually they don't. But if you had that genuine love, that fatherly love, and sometimes even just from a mother, it doesn't have to just come from a father, but growing up without that tender love and emotional needs of a child being met means you're growing up with this gap. For some people, we were discussing yesterday on a broadcast my guest was saying how for them it was just bullying. Being bullied as a child meant they felt the need for connection. They felt they were not loved. They felt they were different. That for them was a childhood trauma that later turned into, just going out to gangs and, drinking, over drinking. And this is the same even with boys. So we have to deal with those traumas. Yeah. There's brokenness sometimes that is not acknowledged. Yeah. So when you go into life and you're facing challenges and you're facing difficulties, things are not working out. It's not always about pointing a finger. You don't hear me in the book pointing a finger. I do not say, there's a lot of things I could say about how my ex was narcissistic, he did this and that. I don't deal with that. My concern is, how did I end up there? How did I allow it? How did I attract that?
Yes.
And dealing with those things about my lack of self-identity to make myself better.
Yeah. And that's so important. Yeah, taking responsibility. Because as long as we blame other people, it lets us off the hook. We don't have to deal with it. Because it's somebody else,
Exactly.
But yeah, I love that. Right. So the other thing that you wrote that I really like, because obviously you've got this whole acronyms going: awake, arise, activate, action, achieve. Love it. Really nice and easy to remember. So you've got one of the quotes here is, an awakening experience is like you have been rebirthed into somebody new. As you leave behind the false views that you had about life and you begin to see the truth. So it's like being born again, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like, it's which actually means that our true self is an internal.
Yes.
It's an internal consciousness of who we are, that spirit that God has put in us. So I learned a lot just by that quote, just the awakening to who you really are. Yeah. So tell us.
I said it is an awakening, because suddenly it's like I was living in a dream, and a lot of us are living in a dream, living in a bubble, living in false hope, living in false notions of who we are. And an awakening literally just means you come out of that when you realize, and through acceptance. Because when all these things were going on in my relationship, I hadn't even realized that it was abuse. When I spoke to people and got counseling, and people said, okay, so my counselor says, so you were mentally abused, you were in an abusive relationship. And I'm like, no, not me. Not me. You scale, it's this stigma, you don't want to be labeled. But actually an awakening is coming to realization that actually that was abuse, that was wrong. I am not that person. I am capable of much more. That for me is an awakening. And it can happen.
Why do you think you denied it? Why do you think it was something that you denied? Because obviously the first thing you thought when she said that was no. Obviously the abuse, the word in itself is heavy.
Yes.
It's heavy.
Because my views were blurred. My views were blurred. So why I say I was in a bubble, because of how I grew up, the trauma that I'm talking about, my self-belief and my views of the world and how the world should be. Because I believed it was okay for a husband not to come home at night. It was okay to not be told nice things. It was okay to be told you can't do this. I thought that was okay. So that lens that was on me was awakened, and it happens in different ways. So for me, I awoke because my daughter went to heaven. So for years, I had been trying to come out of this relationship, but sometimes it takes an awakening experience, such as a drastic accident or something big happening, such as the loss of a child, which is what happened to me. And you can't explain it. That is what just woke me up to say, oh my God, suddenly I could see everything clearly. Sometimes it could just be a spoken word. Somebody could be watching this right now, and I encourage the audience to really allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you. If you are going through any of the things that I have talked about, it's allowing the inner you to receive what is being said to you. That could be your awakening. Somebody could say something one day, and you realize, oh my goodness, I can't take this anymore. It's getting to that position of having enough. They say enough is enough. And it's different for everybody. It could take 10 years, it could take 20 years, but it's not until you become intentional with wanting to change your situation, that is the beginning of your awakening.
Yeah, some of the
So
viewers,
it doesn't happen by magic.
It doesn't happen by magic. And you know, I like the fact that you actually have a course now as well, and you're teaching people, because we're talking about an onion scenario here. Layers upon layers upon layers of confusion, people not knowing what, you know, they don't know what they're called to do. They're in a situation, it doesn't feel right in themselves. They can't, there's no room to exhale, as such, as it said. You know, you can't sort of be who you want to be. So you know something's wrong, but you can't identify what it is, because there's this cloud of issues that have been buried, and the cultural misconceptions as well. You know, so tell us, the viewers have asked, how do we get hold of your book?
Oh, yes. So the book
is available on all stockists. Don't you get that on Amazon? Is it? You froze there for a minute.
Yes.
Say that again.
Oh, sorry. It's on Amazon. If you just check Queen Unleashed, Rise from Pain to Purpose, you will see it. Or if you type my name, Gladness Katega, on Amazon, it should pop up. It's also on my website, www.iamwomanpreneur.com. You can get a copy of the book.
Excellent, thank you. Now, the next quote number 3, it says, rising, you wrote on page 62, you wrote, rising is the capacity to believe in your positive future more than your negative past. Now, that can be difficult. Now, people, I hear you, and I'm going to exercise that. But sometimes when you're in a situation where you're thinking to yourself, you're buried in all your issues, you know, and you're thinking, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then people say, have faith, and faith, you know, we know about faith. So how do we do that? How do we do that? How do we rise to
it's actually very simple. The reason you lack to move forward and see the future is because you're stuck in the vision of who you are present and your past.
Yeah.
So I remember my vision back then of my views. Like I said, I was in this bubble. It was, you're having the views of what you have been told and what culture has had you believe you are as a person, as a woman, is I'm to be a wife. So everything you're imagining is limited in that box.
Yeah.
Now, coming out of that means you have to do the visionary work. And again, I have a course on this, a vision masterclass. You have to be able to see where you're trying to get to. You see yourself for what God has created you for. You have to actually sit down, and because so long as you can see it, then you can achieve it. You know, even the Bible says, take your vision, write it plain. Physically sit down and think about, okay, what is the vision that God has placed inside of me? Pray about it. Once you can see it, rising means you're able to do that work. Create a vision board. People take these things lightly, but I am here. My transformation began from creating a vision board of everything that I wanted to see. Positive affirmations, you know, looking at that vision and actually every day visualizing, working, praying on that and working towards it. Because guess what happens? Your brain starts catching up, because what happens in your actions and your emotions, your brain is just listening to what's going on inside of you. So the moment you start speaking out and saying all these positive things, you know, positive proclamations, affirmations, I'm a queen, you know, people take it lightly. It's not a light thing. Telling yourself I am your queen, your brain catches up with that notion. You start feeling like a queen. You start acting like a queen. Telling yourself, I'm a business consultant. Tell yourself who you want to be, what you visualize yourself to be. That is how you start manifesting that. So you cannot rise until you get to that position of start visualizing who you are and who you're trying to be, what God has placed in your heart, and not just being limited by your current circumstances. You have to actually dream big. Every single thing, it's only been 2 years since I've come out of that relationship. Within a year, I was visualizing having my own home. I was saying it, I got my own home. Then next I said, okay, now I want to empower women. I want to be able to help. I didn't know how to do it. I started creating courses. You cannot get creativity and you cannot be able to flow in your abundance until you come out of that and you start visualizing who you are and what God has said to you. Maria, I work with a lot of clients, and you ask them, so what do you want? And it's like, oh, well, you know, it could have been good if I could. And I say, don't say it could have been good. I did not, you know, your imagination is not limited by your current circumstances. It's free. It's free to imagine whatever you want to imagine, because God has given you imagination. So why do you have to limit yourself to what you're present? When I say imagine the greatest. Don't worry about what your current status quo is. Don't worry about what's in your bank balance. I'm asking you to imagine. I'm asking you about your wants, not what you are presently. Somebody asked a question, but I missed it.
No, I saw it. It was from Bola. And Bola said, how long did your awakening take you to do or to achieve? How long did it take?
Okay, so it works differently for everyone. For me, it took about 6 months. But that 6 months was really being strict with no communication, nothing toxic. Obviously, I was talking to people, but I was in my zone for 6 months. I did not allow anybody. Yes, I had just come out of this abusive relationship. I got my place. And, you know, you have to avoid those people that come and just, so what happened? Oh, my goodness, I am so sorry. So replaying that, that negative story is not it. It took me 6 months, but only because I was able to shut down from the world, stay with myself and do the work. The program that I created, that's what I was doing. God was speaking to me, and, you know, and I was like, okay, so let me deal with the core. Actually identifying I had daddy issues, I had no idea. And, you know, God will speak to you and the answers are within you. The Holy Spirit will speak to you. But until you take yourself in that place, the quiet place of doing the work and understanding what's happened, the awakening cannot come forth. So for me, it took 6 months. It could be a year. It could be 3 months. It really depends on you and how much you are willing to do the work. So all this vision, positive affirmation, meditation, praying, I was doing that every single day religiously and not dealing with anything on the outside world for a whole 6 months.
Excellent. I think a lot of people think when they're going through that kind of situation, they need people around them. They need a crowd. They need some people to lick their wounds as such.
Positive crowd. You can, but positive. Somebody that will tell you the truth. I have a, again, I don't know if I talk about this in the book, but it's not about the people that will feel sorry for you and say, oh, he was horrible, he did this. It's the person that will tell you the truth and say, okay, so let's look at what role you played in all this.
Exactly.
What really happened? Those are the people that you want. The painful truth needs to be told. And it's okay to be upset. It's accepting that you are actually annoyed. For a long time in that 6 months, I was refusing to, I was like, well, he's lost and I'm a queen and I don't care. Actually, no, it's okay to say, I wasted 9 years. That was 9 years of my life. It's okay to cry. It's okay to accept it. I'm not saying don't accept it, but then turn that into a positive of, okay, so now what? Okay, so how do I transform this into something powerful? How do I take this into a positive energy? What are the lessons that I have learned from this? Okay, I have now learned that I need to know who I am. I've now learned that it's very important that I love myself. Doing things like loving yourself. I have a challenge coming up, ladies.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. Yeah.
These things work. Loving yourself, taking care of yourself, the simple things of your wants and your desires, actually doing them for yourself before waiting for somebody else to do it plays a huge part. Because when you're loving yourself, your soul feels good. You know, you start feeling appreciated. Appreciating yourself does a lot more than waiting for others to appreciate you.
Yeah, I love it. And you said in your book here, you said in page 74, you said your activation is released through self-identification of who you are, what you are created to do, your values, your worth, your gifts, and your talent. I love it. And I like the way you've actually turned your situation, like what you were just saying, you know, how do I make something out of this situation? You've turned it into a positive, movement that's helping other women as well. So I think we should watch that video, a promo, and just some of the things that you're doing and what people are saying about this book.
Okay, then, great.
Video that we can watch. Is it there?
So I want to welcome you. Rise from pain to purpose and rediscover yourself, a Queen Unleashed. So it's out, guys. It's out. It's out on Amazon. It's officially published. I cannot thank you enough for partnering with me, for supporting me, for endorsing me in this book launch. So without any further ado, let us kickstart this evening and our celebration with the amazing Emmanuel Smith performance. Thank you.
Yeah, let me see you clap your hands to Jesus. Are you ready?
You know, you need to win your soul out of those stuff, of that stuff that it has eaten for many years. Because the word of God is sharper than a two-edged sword.
He had a plan. He didn't just drop it here, then he said, whoops, what are we going to do with this extra person? No. And not to let anybody tell you otherwise.
Let me hear you say, and our God is greater.
But you're going to impact your world. What is that world that God has called you to impact? Now is the time to get up and show up. Now is the time to get up and show up, because the world is waiting for you.
And I rested in it, and I didn't try and force my change. I didn't try and force my transformation, because you can't force your transformation. And you know, you take yourself out of the driver's seat, put yourself in the passenger seat, and let God drive, and let God do the work in your life. And I'm gonna sing victory. I'm gonna sing victory.
Right? They need what we are carrying, and until you release it, they won't receive it, because they need it specifically from you. Things that have been done to you, do not shame you. You don't have to own them. You break free of those, and then you go speak about it to help inspire others.
The broken become masters at mending. Wow, that's powerful. The best of God's generals have been furnished into the furnace of affliction.
And so everybody who's listening, I encourage you to get online right now and purchase that book. Like I said, the second I opened up the chapter she sent me, I already knew what clients I'm going to gift it to. There's value in this book.
Thanks for having me and for allowing me to be a part of today. It's been so inspiring. So love you, Gladys. I just know that.
And I'm so excited for you, for your book. I know it's just going to do amazing. And even here in the US and all over the world.
Anyway. Up the great work, keep doing what you're doing. And people, we need you to buy the book. We need you to really go out and get it today and tomorrow, so that it can become a bestseller. So the more people that buy it.
Thank you for watching live. Thank you very much for watching on replay. Go out and get your Queen Unleashed book. Let's make it a bestseller, as Pastor Tunji has said. God bless you. Bye for now. And whatever you do, keep entrepreneuring and unleash the greatest version of yourself this year. And happy 2021.
Oh, wonderful, 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 wonderful. I'm just having a look at a few of the messages here on YouTube. There's a lady from Kenya. Her name is Ruth Mwende, and she was really keen on your awakening. She really wanted to know about that. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's God's directed you, hasn't he? So do you want to sort of like, you know, just give her a few words to tell her about this awakening? Because, you know, some people, you know, they know that something needs to change, but you need something to push you, isn't it? Yes. Also, when I say push you need something to spark.
Yes.
And to confirm, so that you know that you know that you know. So tell us a bit more about that. I think that's what she's asking.
So really, it's so long as you are feeling these feelings, that is God calling you to an awakening. Because if there's no issues and everything is great, you're not going to feel some type of way. So the signals you need to look out for, which I explain in the book, I talk about the different things you need to watch out to know that there needs to be a change, is if you are uncomfortable, you're uncomfortable in your life, you're uncomfortable with how things are, means that you're not really living the kind of life that you ought to be living. I was a successful business consultant. I was writing books. I was already speaking internationally. You know, whilst I was in this abusive relationship, I was still living a great life. And I thought I was happily married. But something in me was just not settled. I was still unfulfilled. I was still feeling like I was lacking something. And that something is purpose, the purpose for life. So yes, you may believe you were called to do a certain thing and you may be striving in that thing, but that doesn't mean you're living a purposeful life. A lot of people get their millions, and guess what happens? They're still broken, right? You hear this. People get to millionaires, but they're still broken because something inside of them is still not fulfilled. And that fulfillment comes from actually living the purposeful life and doing what you were supposed to do by God. You know, it's like I give this example. You may take a fish out of water. If you take fish out of its water, out of its where it's supposed to be, it may swivel around for a while, but eventually it will die. If you take a car and take it off the road and put it in water, it may go on for a little while, but eventually it will crash. It will not survive. Why? Because it's living outside of what it's supposed to be doing. So it's the same thing with human beings. If we are living life that is not purposeful, you know, something greater inside of you is calling you, and it could be within your trade, it could be, but you haven't discovered that. You've got a gap. So if you're feeling that way, that means you're called to an awakening. You're called to an awakening, and this could be your awakening. So I encourage you to listen to that and start doing the self-discovery. So if you're feeling this way, which is what I did, I was like, okay, so what is it? Something is not right. And sometimes God even gives you dreams. God will give you dreams. God will speak to you, or people will speak to you. But you wouldn't awake until you become intentional and actually sit down and pray and start asking God. So for some of us, the prayers need to change. For a long time, I was being abused by a person. I was praying, Father God, change this man. Heavenly Father, give me the happy home with him that, you know, you have already shown me I should be happily married. But then my prayer changed to, Father Lord, show me the truth of who you want me to be with. Show me the truth about this relationship. Do you see the difference? So when the prayer changed,
true,
because God will not force you, right?
You got to change. You see, the things with people always pointing the finger, or change this or that person. We got to change ourselves first. It's like, you know, it's like casting the first stone, or the parable of, you know, the plank in your eyes when you're looking at the dust in somebody else's eyes. We got to change ourselves. And I like this quote you've got here where you said, you wrote, you can't change what's going on around you until you change what's going on inside you. It's what's within. We've got to change what's within first before we can see our environment change, because we are the masters of that. God has given us the choice and the ability to change our environment, change our eon, shape it. So we can actually shape our destinies based on the mindset, the way we're thinking, isn't it? Love it.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, there's a quote here that I love. There's so many quotes. I just don't know when to stop with this. And this is going to be the last one for now.
Okay.
And it says, failure to awake will have you living life as a dreamer that never really has the confidence or capacity to manifest their dreams into reality. Now, Gladness, I know your situation was to do with marriage, but people out there, and please, you know, I want you to correct me or whatever it is as well. It's not just in a marital situation, isn't it? It can be anything, isn't it? It can be anything that you're stuck in, and you're dreaming of another life or dreaming of another thing you could be doing, because God has put that dream inside of you.
Yes. You see, even with friendships, okay, we've talked about love relationships, but sometimes when I say when you deal with what's inside of you, it will change how people treat you. It could even be just with friends. You know, you can be in a situation, which again I was, where people are just mistreating you. They keep putting burdens on you. You know, it's like they will just keep dumping things for you to do that, you know, I used to be a people pleaser. You cannot say no. That is happening because you have allowed that situation. Until you sit inside and say, okay, why am I allowing this? Is it the need and desire to be loved, to please people? Until the outside cannot change, until you sit down and deal internally with that issue, and then suddenly you will learn and discover how to say no. And it becomes easier to say no because you have dealt with that gap of, okay, what is the issue? Okay, I'm trying to seek love. Actually, if you depend on God's love, it's sufficient. So until you deal with what's going on inside of you, you cannot deal with what's going on outside of you. The same with career. It could be career. You want to be this, you want to have a particular position, right? Maybe your dream is actually even just to study. But why is it so hard for you to take the course, take the leap and actually just look into the course, right? Because inside of you, you feel you're not enough. You feel you can't do it. You're lacking confidence. You need to deal with those things and find out, okay, why do I think I'm not enough? Why am I lacking confidence? Taking action such as, okay, I'm just going to read up on it. Actually, just make the phone call. Get on the phone, right? I remember I've been wanting to study for a PhD for a long time, but I'm like, me, a whole PhD, why? You know, I was having all those thoughts until I picked up the phone and actually found out, and here the criteria are X, Y, Z. You realize, oh, I am capable, I can do that, right? It's so overcoming that confidence, it's gaining that confidence, overcoming those limitations, beliefs. And like I said, your mind is just catching up with whatever your heart is saying. So doing the heart works, your brain automatically goes with what you say. Doing the vision means, have you thought about this, Maria? I don't know if it's happened to you. Once you start saying, oh, I want to change my car, and you actually say, I want to get, let's say, a Range Rover Sport, suddenly you will start seeing that car. Why are you seeing that car? Because you've told your mind, and your mind is now doing the work for you of showing you where that thing is. Right? But until you start expressing what you want and doing that work of visualizing and say, yes, okay, this is what I want, you're not going to see it and it's not going to come. So we are in charge of this brain, right? It's there for us. We are in charge of it. It's down to us to tell it, okay, this is what we need to do. And it comes with positive affirmation. It's constantly doing the work. I'm still doing the work. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be, right? But the more I do the work, the closer I get to my destination. The closer, the more I see myself living the life. This I've dreamt of this. I want to just wake up on Saturday mornings and be on TV. Look at me now. 2 years ago, it wouldn't happen. But because I've done the work, you start attracting those opportunities. You know, you start attracting them and they come to you because you're literally telling the universe, okay, I'm ready. God has already done that thing. It's already done once you see it. But it's now about you telling the word in the universe and really creating those vibrations to attract those things to come to you. And that's what it is. Somebody asked, how did I, is it something to do with, how did I overcome the stigma of being divorced or something like that?
Oh, yeah, tell us that then, because that's a stigma in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And again, it's the reason that kept me in abusive relationships for that year. Just the thought of, oh, well, I don't want to be divorced and you know, no, and I don't want people to think I'm divorced because I was this successful business consultant, you know, traveling around the world doing motivational speaking. And I didn't want, because I was telling people, you know, balance your life and you can be a happy married woman and you can still do the work. So I had to actually realize that, no, I can be greater if I'm not in this toxic relationship. And letting my family know, because guess what? Your family don't want to hurt you. I thought they would be disappointed, but actually they were already upset, but they didn't want to hurt you. And we need to break this culture, Maria. We need to break this culture of, oh, you know, it's their marriage, it's down to them. No. Actually, if you speak out, you will be shocked to realize that they actually just don't want you to be hurt, and they think you will be hurt. But if they don't, if you're in a situation where they are like, no, you have to stay in this, and I face that. You know, you go to churches and they're like, what God has put together, and it's realizing
another thing as well. If we again coming away from just that one scenario, when you look at it from a broader perspective, a lot of the times people are trying to show face. Where a person, you know, you hear people who are very successful, and I'm going to use that word loosely, very successful as a lawyer, or very successful in this or that different thing that they do, but they never felt like that was their purpose. So they've gone into on a pathway because it sounds good, it looks good, financial rewards, and what will people, the status in the community, how things look. One of the things that I've noticed myself is as soon as I found my purpose, and my purpose was in God, as soon as I found, which I believe at the end, you know, and this is what you're saying as well, it's in God. Once you find your purpose, the need to please people goes away altogether, because the purpose is more important than what people think, than how you look, than friends, than people loving you, because that purpose gives you so much fulfillment and joy. You found that center place that God has called you to be.
Yes.
And it's more important, isn't it?
It is. Maria, you either choose purpose or marriage. That's what I want to say to that lady. So are you going to choose God, who has a purpose for you, or are you going to choose marriage? Because guess what, Maria? Choosing marriage over purpose means you're being selfish. You're choosing your personal desires over what God has planned for you. These women that I'm helping today, I could not help them if I decided to stay in marriage and I refused purpose.
And who knows, maybe at the end, following that purpose, following God, pretty much, let's just say following God, right? Because that's what this comes down to. Yeah. Following God, finding your purpose, all good things shall be added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God.
Amen.
And all his righteousness. Amen. I'm going to add that one into it. And his purpose.
Amen. And God will bring you a purpose partner. I say, stop looking for no husband. You need to look for a purpose partner.
Thank you. Because that purpose partner then sees you for who you are.
Yes.
The mask of being something else is gone.
And he will support.
Your authentic you. And you see, this is what I always say to people. The authentic you is more important than the fake.
Yes.
So if I lose some friends along the way, and I think you wrote something profound about that, about the losing of things that you don't need. You know, if you lose some people along the way, that's all right.
Yes.
That's okay.
God will bring new things and people that will actually take you to your destiny.
Yeah.
The people I meet now, like yourself, are taking me to where God wants me to be. But you cannot bring those people in whilst you're still holding on to people that are not supporting your development, your growth.
Because you show the wrong side, you show the fake, the side that is not really you. You attract the wrong people, and they're expecting you to live up to this expectation and live up to this personality. And in the end, it's just this ball of confusion where you're also believing the hype. No one is progressing, you're frustrated, and you're with people that probably you don't like.
Absolutely.
And maybe you don't even like the real you.
Exactly. Your friends should elevate you.
The right to show you the real you, whether they stay or go. It's up to them.
There's a saying, Maria. There's a saying that if you're the smartest in the room, you need to leave that room, because your friends should elevate you. If your friends and the people around you are not causing greater impact, you have to ask yourself, the 5 people in your circle, I don't know if you've heard this notion, the 5 people in your circle, if they cannot help you grow, if the people you call friends this year, or let's say last year now, in a whole year, ask yourself, what did they do for your growth? Did they increase you in any way, shape, or form? Or is it just you doing for them? If they haven't increased you in any shape or form, those are not the people that you need to be putting in your inner circle. Yes, you can have acquaintances, you can have friends, but not everybody needs to be in your immediate circle, because the people in your immediate circle determine your destiny. So you need to look at those people, whatever they are, that's what you are. And if that's not who you're trying to be, if that's not what you feel God has placed for you, then you need to change that. You need to change that circle.
I love it. It's the whole Proverb 29:17 thing of iron sharpens iron.
Yes, exactly.
So Gladness, I'm telling you, you really have opened my eyes today. You really have. And I believe that people out there as well, from what I'm seeing as well, you know, I'm going to give a shout out maybe really, really quickly. But before we go to that, can you just give us some advice? Valentine's is in 2 weeks' time. Now, a lot of people talk about Valentine's being looking for a partner. And, you know, a lot of problems can come from that as well. And another, you know, that's another conversation. But what should we be doing as far as loving us? Tell us about it. Loving ourselves, finding out
ourselves.
Valentine yourself.
Yes, Valentine yourself. So you are welcome to join the Queen Unleashed Self-Love Challenge. So we are going to be spending 14 days of loving ourselves. I know now for us in the UK, we're stuck indoors, and maybe where you are in the world. How about spending time loving yourself, doing things for yourself, treating yourself nice? In this season, especially of COVID, where things have been shut down, you know, you may feel like you're limited, but actually it's about just trying to do something different. You need to have self-care in all the different areas of your life, right? Your emotion, your personal growth. Try and read something new. Try and do a course, do a program. Learn something new. It helps with your general well-being. So we need to spend this Valentine's Day, even if you do have a loved one, when you love yourself more, you are a better queen, you're a better wife. Because guess what? You are so happy inside, you've got more to give. You cannot pour out of an empty cup, right? So the more you show love to yourself, the more you have to give love to others. So I challenge us in this season to love on ourselves, do things for ourselves, you know, go out for walks, enjoy the fresh air. Don't look at COVID and look at the situation we're in for just the negatives. Look at it for the opportunities that it's bringing your way. It's giving you extra time to do that course that you've been trying to do. It's giving you the extra time to read up on some of the things that you know will help your personal growth. It's giving you time to chase that career. What is it that you need to do to get into the position that you've been dreaming of? So let's spend this time focusing on us. And that's my challenge for Valentine's Day, because until you love on yourself, you cannot attract what you're trying to gain in a spouse. So be that person that you're trying to gain. Love on yourself first. You know, I say this in an example. I love flowers, and for 9 years on this marriage, he never bought me flowers. I realized I never bought myself flowers. So why would I expect somebody to buy me flowers? So now I've learned, actually, you know, I need to do these things for myself. When you do it for yourself, when you love yourself, you're giving an example to others of how they should love you.
That's right. That's right. And ladies out there, it doesn't start midway through the relationship. It starts from day one.
From day one.
It starts even before the relationship. You identify who you are, what you want.
So you can express yourself. Because a lot of married women, and that was me, you say, well, he doesn't do this, he's not. Yeah, but have you ever even expressed your desires? You know, have you ever said it? Because we don't. We are so consumed in pleasing others and looking after the home. And take some time out. The house will not collapse on that Saturday if you decide to take the day off and not do anything. Right? Sometimes just zone out. You need it.
Can I just add this one in? Apologies in advance. For all those ladies out there who cannot wash clothes, remember.
Read the manual.
Remember, there's a washing machine.
Exactly.
It doesn't define you, okay?
It doesn't
define you. Get a washing machine.
Exactly. And it's
washing their own clothes these days anyway. The washing machine.
You may not be able to wash clothes, but you may be the best cook ever. You may be brilliant at something else. So if the person cannot love you just because you cannot wash clothes, then that is not the person destined for you, because God gives you your desires. God already knows the suitable person for you. So you limit yourself by just settling with what you think, okay, I'll just manage. I know I'm not truly happy, but I'll manage. Why are you managing?
That's right.
Why are you managing and limiting yourself?
What a wonderful time I've had, Gladness. Thank you
so much. Maria.
The show.
It's been great.
Okay, so I know you said it before, but can you tell us again, how do people follow you and just follow what you're doing, and even to the extent where they can actually get onto your courses or buy your books? Just if we appreciate it.
So you can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter at Gladness Katega. You can get my books from www.iamwomanpreneur.com, All my products are there. So I've got the Brokenness to Brilliance course, which is a 6 weeks program that really shows you how to heal from brokenness to become the best version of yourself. When it's vision, I created that, how to craft a vision board, how to get direction, how to discover your purpose. Because sometimes people struggle, but actually there's ways that I teach that you could discover that through your passion. So all those programs are on my website, and you know, you can get in touch. You could email me, gladness@iamwomanpreneur.com. You could direct message me. Just get in touch, and I would love to support your growth and development.
Fabulous. Thank you so very much, Gladness.
Thank you, Maria.
I look forward to you joining us again. The next thing that you have, the next thing that you have, the next movement, next thing that you do, just come and say hello.
I will. Thank you.
Bless you. And I'll see you soon. Okay.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Do you know what? I've learned so much, and I believe that people out there, you've learned as well. Follow her, follow whatever she's doing, her movement, and also listen and remember what she said. You know, listen back to this again, share it with your friends. It's so important for us to love ourselves, be your authentic self, and accept that person, that who you are is what God has made. Yeah, that's what God has made. It's the authentic you. Embrace it. Love yourself. You know, this Valentine's is a really good time to realize that, you know, God loves you. He loves you. He created you as his own. No one can love you more than the love of God. Who can overtake that? Who can love you better than God? No one. And so we need to love ourselves, and we love God, and through that we get to know ourselves, know our purpose, get to love ourselves, you know. And you speak. She spoke about speaking, affirmations, and just encouragements, and saying what you want, seeing what you want, speaking it out into existence. We're made in the image of a God that spoke. He spoke life into existence. He spoke you into existence. He blessed you in your mother's womb. He knew you before then. He speaks about everything. So the importance of having time alone with, we say with yourself, but you're actually with God. You're with God when you're on your own. Don't be afraid to be on your own. Be on your own. Meditate, talk to God, and listen. Allow him to speak to you. It's in the quiet and the still moments that you can communicate with your Creator. Never be afraid of silence. It's what God needs to do when he moves people away from your life. That's what he's doing to get you on your own, so you can fulfill purpose. Your first purpose is to love him, to commune with him, communicate with him. You were created for that. And through that, he shows you what you need to do, and his spirit goes with you. And that's when you see yourself doing things that are limitless. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You're more than a conqueror. You begin to reign and rule in life. All that comes from the time you spend with God, your creator. No one can love you better. So why do we search for affirmation and confirmation and accreditation from everywhere else when we already have it from God? I'm Maria Bond, and it's been my pleasure to host this show today. Make sure you stay tuned or come back again for the next one. It's Limitless Extra, and that is going to be starting in 25 minutes at 11:30. So make sure you come back to this channel at 11:30, where we're going to have an amazing guest. Michael Oyo will be joining us, and he'll be talking about his release of his new single, and we'll be having some fun games. So make sure you come back. And until then, goodbye and God bless.